of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue. Far. Have you ever looked at the debt clock?
Yes.
Okay. There's our present day debt, but then there's our future obligations. So when you look at the future obligations of Social Security, the actual national debt is like double what people think it is because of the future obligations. So basically people are living way longer than expected. And there are fewer babies being born. So you have more people who are retired and that live for a long time and get retirement payments. So the future obligations. So however bad the financial situation is right now for the federal government, it will be much worse in the future. At the risk of being a buzzkill here.
Did you see...
So we better fix what we got right now, because if it's bad now, it's going to be much worse in the future.
There was an interview with this woman who was a whistleblower.
Yeah.
Did we ever find out if that was true?
There's so many whistles being blown. It's hard to keep track.
A lot of whistles. But this one lady...
It was only in one state. It was very specific and simple.
Right, but it was using Social Security money, correct? That was her.
I don't know.
That was her allegation. So what she was alleging was that she was in charge of turning illegal immigrants into clients. That's what they would call them, and that she would go to them and try to ask them, "Do you have a headache? Do you have back problems? If you do, now you can be permanently disabled. You get permanent disability, so you get Social Security for life."
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just Social Security, but disability, which is even more.
Right, and you get them on the taxpayer dole right away the moment, and they're illegal aliens.
Yes. Oh, so if I were to say, like, what's at the heart of the sort of, like, why is the Democrat propaganda machine so fired up to destroy me? That's the main reason. The main reason is that entitlements fraud. That includes like Social Security, disability, Medicaid. Entitlements fraud for illegal aliens is what is serving as a gigantic magnetic force to pull people in from all around the world and keep them here. Like basically, if you pay people at a standard of living that is above 90% of Earth, then you have a very powerful incentive for 90% of Earth to come here and to stay here. But if you end the illegal alien fraud, then you turn off that magnet, and they leave, and they stop coming, and the ones that are here, many of them will simply leave. And if that happens, they will lose a massive number of Democratic voters.
And if it didn't happen, they would turn those people into voters.
Correct.
Which they were trying to do.
They're already turning them. So in New York State, illegal aliens can already vote in state and city elections. A lot of people don't know that. They're trying to fight that, and they're trying to stop that. But they're currently, I think it's like 600,000 are registered to vote, illegal aliens in New York.
That is wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at, say, FEMA, like the agency that was paying for illegal aliens to stay at luxury hotels in New York was FEMA. That's an agency that's meant to support Americans in distress from natural disasters, was paying for luxury hotels for illegals in New York.
It's true. Yeah.
That's a fact.
Fact.
They're literally, like, when we stopped that payment, we stopped all those monies, because that's obviously an insane way to spend taxpayer money. New York sued the federal government to get the money. So you can just look at their lawsuit. They were sending that money even after President Trump signed an executive order saying it needs to stop. They still press send on $80 million to luxury hotels in New York. Your tax money went to pay for illegal aliens in luxury hotels in New York from an agency that is meant to help Americans in distress from natural disasters.
Right, and I would like to
That's
know how
up.
much. And I would like to know how much they spent on North Carolina and how much they spent on Maui.
Yes, exactly. What's actually happening is they're buying voters. That's really what's happening. It's like a giant voter fraud scam. They're importing voters, and it's really just a matter of time. So, if a lot of people have trouble believing this, but the more you look at it, the more you will realize just how much of a problem this is, and how it's not just real. It is an attempt to destroy democracy in America. That's what, in my view, it is what it really is. Like, if you take the sort of 7 swing states, like, often the margin of victory there is like maybe 20,000 votes. If you put 200,000 illegals in there, and they have like a 80% likelihood of voting Dem, and it's only a matter of time before they become citizens, then those swing states will not be swing states in the future. And if they are not swing states, we'll be a permanent one-party state country. Permanent, deep blue socialist state. That's what America will become.
And that was the game plan.
That was the game plan. That is still the game plan. And so they almost succeeded. If the machine of which the Kamala puppet was the representation had won, that's what would have happened. The reason I went so hardcore for Trump was because, to me, this was a fork in the road, a very obvious fork in the road. If they had another 4 years, they would legalize enough illegals in the swing states to make the swing states not swing states. They would be blue states. Then they would win the presidential. They'd win the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They would then make district, D.C. into a state. Maybe Puerto Rico, get 4 extra senators, pack the Supreme Court. So then you'll have the House, Judiciary, Senate, and presidency, all blue. And then they will keep importing more illegals to cement that outcome. Basically what happened in California.
Jesus Christ.
It would have been the end. That's why I went so hardcore for Trump. It was otherwise been the end. And that's why the Democrat machine is so intent on destroying me.
It's just so fascinating that people can't see this.
I mean, I invite people to do their research. The more they do their research, the more they will see that what I'm saying is absolutely true. It's like, just do the research.
Yeah. It's such a bad idea, even for the Democrats, which is what they don't understand. Like, it's the same people.
It's not ultimately going to work out.
No, it's the same people.
Yes.
It's just they're doing it under the guise that they're the kind, compassionate, progressive people.
Yes.
But the same outcome takes place. It's just about control. And they probably institute some central bank digital currency and some social credit score system. And then
censorship, of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, that was the big fear coming into this election, was that if they can't censor things like we talked about it before, but there was 2 major forks in the road. The big one was Trump didn't get shot.
Yep.
The other big one was you buy Twitter.
Yeah.
And if those 2 things don't happen, the whole world looks different.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't want to be on that timeline.
No, we don't want to have only one side represented, because guess what? They will hijack that side, whatever it is. They will hijack that side and use it for money and control. And that's what it's all about. It's not about good people versus bad people. It's a bullshit shell game.
Yeah. I mean, I think these things are actually, it's easy to understand if you look at basic incentives. The basic incentive here is the more illegals that the Democrats can bring in, the more likely they are to win. So that's what they're going to do. That's what they have been doing. And it worked in California. California's supermajority Dem. And look at all the companies that are leaving California.
Yeah.
I mean, In-N-Out just announced they're leaving.
Yep.
Their headquarters leaving California.
They're moving to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and California made healthcare free for illegals.
Yeah.
As of last year. So, and that obviously that's a gigantic magnet for more illegals. And this is not a thing you can solve simply with money, because what happens is you simply have more patients than a doctor can possibly see, and you can't just make doctors out of nothing. So sometimes people are like, oh, it's just a money thing. No, it takes a long time for somebody to become a doctor. 30 years. And so what actually happens in California is that there are too many patients for the doctors to see. So then the average citizen in California suffers as a result. Now, the elite in California are fine because they have private doctors. They can just pay for the best doctors. So the elite in California are doing fine, but your average citizen in California is not doing fine. And the tax burden for healthcare for illegals was supposed to be $3 billion. I think they now estimate it's $9 billion. But that number will scale to infinity, basically. It's like, why not?
Right.
Well, why not? If you need any operation at all, come to California and have it be free.
Right.
From anywhere on earth.
And the people that want to look at it in the most charitable way, they say, oh, well, these people are hardworking, good people, and they're the backbone of our city, and they should have access to all the things that we have access to. And I just don't think they understand that it's a political pawn. I don't think they understand.
It's a political game.
This is not done for compassion and kindness.
No.
This is just done to ensure that it stays blue.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's essentially a bribery with your tax dollars.
Yes, this is why the Dems will not even deport criminals.
Yeah.
Because every criminal deported is a lost vote. So even if somebody is an illegal with a criminal record and commits crime in America, they are still were not being deported.
And then on top of that, California made it actually illegal to ask for ID when people vote.
Yes. California and New York, you are not allowed to show your ID when you vote. I just want to be clear so everyone understands this. In California and New York, you are not allowed to show your ID even if you want to.
Right. Why would that ever be a good idea?
I mean,
if you wanted to steel man it.
If you're trying to facilitate fraud in elections, it's a great idea.
That's the only reason.
Yes.
There's no other reason logically why that would be a good idea.
It's for fraud. It's like wake up, sheeple. Wake up. Hello. Like, let's say you wanted to commit fraud. What are the things you would do?
Yeah,
you would say you don't need ID, and you can mail in your ballot.
And we'll give you free health care.
Yes.
Stay here.
Yes.
Stay here. I know it's on fire, but stay here.
I mean, in this case, it being on fire is not just a metaphor in California. Okay. It's just like, goddamn, entire neighborhoods burning down.
It's just once they allowed people to vote that are not legal in California, if you're going to do that, it's over.
Exactly. There's no coming back from that.
The numbers are just people are so indoctrinated too. There's so many people that no matter what, they think voting Republican means you're an asshole.
Yes. And
they won't do it.
Yes.
They won't do it. They'll put their fucking rainbow flag on their porch and they'll just ride it right into the beach.
Civilizational suicide.
Yeah. Right to the rocks. Bang.
Yeah.
Crash the boat.
I mean, there's a guy who posts on X who's great, Godsad.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. He's been on the podcast a bunch of times.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
And he talks about, basically suicidal empathy. Mm-hmm. Like, if there's so much empathy that you actually suicide yourself.
Yeah.
So that we've got civilizational suicidal empathy going on. And it's like, I believe in empathy. Like, I think you should care about other people, but you need to have empathy for civilization as a whole and not commit to a civilizational suicide.
Also, don't let someone use your empathy against you so they can completely control your state and then do an insanely bad job of managing it and never get removed.
The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. The empathy exploit. They're exploiting a bug in Western civilization, which is the empathy response. So, and I think empathy is good, but you need to think it through and not just be programmed like a robot.
Right. Understand when empathy has been actually used as a tool.
Yes. Like it's weaponized empathy is the issue.
Yeah.
Weaponized empathy. And yeah.
And it's also the rigid adherence to that liberal ideology. Like, you can't switch sides over there. Like California, if you're a part of that whole tech, Hollywood, entertainment, any of those circles, you're on the left.
Yeah.
Like, almost wholly. Almost completely.
It's borderline illegal to be a Republican in California. In San Francisco or LA, it's borderline illegal to be a Republican.
You're certainly shunned.
No, in like San Francisco, you could shoot heroin while taking a dump on the mayor's car in front of City Hall. Okay, and nothing would happen to you. But if you walk down the street with a MAGA hat, you're gonna get attacked.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's insane. It's also so Orwellian that a hat that says "Make America Great Again" would cause people to have a violent reaction. Like, aren't you American? Wouldn't just as a whole, like the saying, wouldn't that be a good thing for everyone? Make America great again.
Yes.
But because it's attached to Donald Trump and that red hat, you'll get maced for wearing that red hat. They will make America worse by beating you. So it's like it's an evil thing they're doing, a violent assault in America because you want to make America great again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a scene in a book. It doesn't seem like it could be that ridiculous. Like, remember when All Lives Matter would get you fired?
Which is insane.
Insane. People got fired because they said all lives matter.
Which is a very reasonable thing to say.
How reasonable is that?
Yes.
That's essentially saying everybody matters. But that's
literally all you're saying.
That's not what you were supposed to say. You had to say Black Lives Matter, which of course they do if you say all lives matter. Everybody matters.
Yes.
But the idea of being a colorblind society was completely abandoned somewhere around 2012-ish.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, I sort of can trace it to when did the gun emoji get nerfed? You know, when did it turn into a squirt gun?
That was a couple of years ago.
That was like 2016, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it became a squirt gun. Can you bring it back to X?
Yeah, no. Right now, if you use a gun emoji on X, the Apple will insist that it be a squirt gun, and then the X app turns it back into a 1911.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So you can actually have a 1911 gun. We reverted the Apple change inside the app.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That thing's so offensive. The gun and then the pregnant man. Both of those got me. Like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah. I mean, I like that meme where it's like the people telling you that what you're hearing is disinformation are the same people that did the pregnant man emoji.
Yes. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. Well, also the same people that say a woman attacked a Tesla factory.
Yeah.
The woman.
It's a dude.
It's a dude. Like, really obvious dude. Really big
like a mentally
looking,
ill dude.
Yeah, mentally ill dude with a wig on. Say that.
Yes.
Yeah, but NBC, even Fox.
You're looking at the
I think
picture
even Fox
and you're
called
like,
it a woman.
yo, this is a dude with a strong jawline.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's wearing woman face.
This is a buff dude.
Yeah, it's a buff dude wearing woman face.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, come on.
That's not a woman.
Yeah. And they're like saying, watch out for disinformation. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's so crazy.
This is bullshit.
I mean, it's just more evidence of the virus, though, right? Like, it killed objectivity, killed reality, and it demanded strict adherence, or you were attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questioning of it would result in being ostracized.
Do you, like, what kind of responsibility do you feel, like, knowing that if you didn't take over Twitter and turn it into X, if that didn't happen, like, I really think the world's a very different place right now. Like, how long have you owned it for?
A couple years, basically.
Imagine a couple years of it being run the way it was run before, and probably accelerating.
I mean, my account would have been suspended long ago. For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just for the disinformation.
Yeah. It would have been...
Trump would have never come back. Alex Jones would have definitely never been back.
Definitely not.
No.
So, yeah.
Does that weigh on you? Like, I would feel like that would be a fucking heavy responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to keep civilization going here, for longer. So, I think we at least want to build a city on Mars, and become a multi-planet civilization, which I think would be incredibly important in ensuring the long-term survival of civilization.
Are you still rescuing those people that are stuck in the space station?
Yeah, that's coming up in a couple of weeks, I think.
Whoa. They've been up there for how long, Jamie? They were supposed to be there for a couple of days, right?
I think actually for like 4 weeks. Oh, they're supposed to be there. They were supposed to be up there for like 8 days.
Yeah.
And they've been up there for like, I think, 8 months. So a little longer than expected.
Fuck.
Yeah.
What is it going to be like for those people when they get back? They're going to be a wreck for a long time, right?
Yeah, if the longer you stay up there, you get, sort of in zero G, you get increased bone loss. So, it ended up being like this political football, and sort of hotly contested topic. We offered to bring them back early. This offer was rejected by the Biden administration.
Why?
For political reasons.
That's so crazy.
There's no way that they're going to make anyone who's supporting Trump look good.
Wow. What do you think they would have done if they had won? How would they get those people back?
No, they can only get them back with a SpaceX spacecraft, but they pushed the return date past the inauguration date.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they would have let you do it, but after the...
Yeah.
Wow. And so it would have been them authorizing you.
Well, there isn't
to do
anyone
it.
else to do it.
NASA can't get them.
The only the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft is the only one that is considered safe enough to bring them back. So the NASA concluded that the Boeing spacecraft was not safe. So that's why they're stuck there.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And you can't ask Russia to help.
That would be awkward.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be a nice thing if they did. They said, guys, we'll help.
I think that for enough money they would.
You think so?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
they would obviously treat it as a propaganda victory and charge crazy money.
It's just disgusting that they would use that as a political tool.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, they were also, the Biden administration was also suing SpaceX. They had this massive lawsuit against SpaceX for SpaceX not hiring asylum seekers.
Right.
So people say oh, Elon's making it up. The Biden administration wasn't against SpaceX. I'm like, bro, the Department of Justice had a massive lawsuit against SpaceX for not hiring asylum seekers, even though it is illegal for us to hire anyone who is not a permanent resident. So it is both, there's a law that says you have to hire asylum seekers, but there's also a law that says anyone hired by a rocket company, which is an advanced weapons technology, must be a permanent resident. And an asylum seeker is not a permanent resident. So it is both legal and illegal to hire asylum seekers. So why would the Biden administration launch a massive lawsuit? Again, this is public information. It's not like my imagination. Why would they launch do such a massive lawsuit against SpaceX. They're extremely antagonistic.
It just doesn't make any sense that that could ever even get past the first day of someone looking at it. If it's both illegal and you're trying to enforce it. Like, you can't enforce it.
Yes.
This is an advanced weapons company. This is crazy.
Correct. Yes.
It should be like this, throw this out.
In fact, there's like international traffic and arms regulations is a law that is there to ensure that if only permanent residents of the United States can work at advanced weapons companies. Rockets are advanced weapons. So the same is true of like if it's like nuclear or some like bioweapon thing or something like that. So because obviously if someone were to work at SpaceX and then leave and go to North Korea or Iran, they could build missile technology that could destroy the United States. So that's why you're not allowed to hire people who aren't permanent residents. It's logical. Basically. Logical.
So is that lawsuit still pending?
It was just dismissed.
How long was it going on for?
A couple of years.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that drives me crazy. Like, that people don't understand that if you sanction lawfare like that, if you sanction attacking your political enemies, someone's going to do that to you. Like, if the wrong people get in office, if new people get in office 4 years from now, 8 years from now, who knows who it's going to be, you've already set a precedent. You've already attacked someone, charged them with 34 felonies where they're really just misdemeanors, and they're also past the statute of limitation, and now you're talking all over the news that this is a convicted felon. Convicted felon. They kept saying convicted felon, convicted felon. And everybody knows what it is.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying they could do it so brazenly to a guy who was the president for 4 years.
Right. That lawsuit was funded by Reid Hoffman, who is a major Dem donor. And also an Epstein client. The plot thickens.
The plot thickens. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
It's just... It's so blatant. It's like so obvious. The SpaceX lawsuit, the Trump stuff, it's so obvious.
Yes. Like known Epstein clients who are obviously extremely powerful, they're powerful politically and very wealthy, are Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, and Reid Hoffman. And some others too, but those three. So, why was Reid Hoffman so intent on destroying Trump?
You think it's because they're worried about the list coming out?
Yeah, one of the reasons. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm like, this is, so.
It's so frustrating to be sitting in a situation where the list isn't coming out.
Well, it better come out, hopefully tomorrow.
Why'd they release bullshit today?
I don't know.
What's the point in giving these people like a happy folder to wave around in front of the camera with nothing in it that's new? Doesn't make any sense. It's not encouraging.
Like I said, it's the tough thing that they've got is, they've been made captain of a ship with a hostile crew.
Right.
So they don't have it's not like you have like magical powers. You get made captain of a ship with a hostile crew. You still have a hostile crew.
Right.
You've got to bring in people who are going to, be helpful as opposed to obstructionists.
Right.
But yeah, I think the public will be rightly frustrated if no one is prosecuted for the Epstein client list, no one at all, which, no one, is, like at least, I don't know, the top 5 or something, like some number. There should at least be an attempted prosecution of the worst offenders.
Well, particularly if Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for sex trafficking.
Yes.
Because, trafficking
that means sex trafficking occurred.
Right. So she's in jail for it.
Yes.
So,
who were the clients?
Yeah. Yeah, how do you put someone in jail and you don't even name the clients? That sounds kind of insane.
I think, yes, it would. Yes,
It's
because
just stunning that they've been able to hold it back for so long. It's really kind of amazing.
Yes.
Like when people say that people can't keep secrets, what the fuck are you talking about? Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of these things are not like it's common knowledge, but we don't actually have the proof.
Right.
So the proof is there. I mean, there's lots of videos. Yeah, there's lots. I mean, the dude is like a mountain of like whenever they raided Epstein's place, there would have been like a mountain of evidence. Where is that mountain?
Right. What'd you do with it?
Yes. Like who took possession of the evidence?
Yeah.
Specifically.
Right.
The individuals.
Where are the tapes?
Yes.
How many levels of clearance do I have to get into the vault?
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what we need are people who are really good with computers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And really good with
Was this
technology.
I just remember seeing this photo.
That's when they raided his home?
They were.
That's when they on the island?
They were there then.
Yeah. They got everything, I'm sure.
I mean, there must have been so much stuff on that island.
They must have been. And if it wasn't there, where was it?
Yeah.
What, it has to be uploaded somewhere. There has to be some sort of a chain of evidence.
Yeah.
Or chain of custody.
It's got to be a mountain of evidence.
Yeah. The other thing they're going to talk about is UAPs. They're going to release all the UAP information. So you're the guy to ask about this. What if any possibility is there that there is some sort of advanced propulsion system technology that's being worked on in secret? And that they're trying to cover this up with this talk of aliens and alien tech and not of this world. And is it possible that there's some sort of very secret program that's going on in cahoots with some defense contractors that are developing advanced propulsion systems that they're using for these drones?
I mean, SpaceX, my company SpaceX has the most advanced rocket technology in the world. I think I'd know.
Right.
And to the best of my knowledge, there is not any magic. There's not like some super advanced propulsion technology.
There have been people who have theorized different gravity drives and different things. Is there anything that's ever gotten past the theoretical stage?
No.
Nothing.
Well, there's nothing even that I'm aware of that works in theory. It's not like I would like this to exist, to be clear. I would like this to exist. And I have from a security clearance standpoint, I have top secret. I have equivalent of like an all access pass from a security clearance standpoint. So I don't think they're hiding it from me, basically. I don't think they could.
Unless it's completely in these weapons manufacturing corporations.
I mean, I know these weapons manufacturing companies, like Boeing, Lockheed, and Northrop. I mean, yeah, they do some interesting things, but they do not have. There's no breakthrough that they have.
So
I'm confident they do not have a breakthrough.
When you hear people
like, why don't they just compete with SpaceX and make a better rocket? In which case, they can make. Why are they holding back on making a lot of money from beating SpaceX with better rockets?
My thought was that what if it's just a drone and you can't have a biological entity inside of it because it just bursts from the fucking speed that it's moving at? That a human couldn't tolerate the amount of force. So they're just drones.
I don't think so.
So what do you think people like Ryan Graves and Commander David Fravor...
I want cool things to exist.
Right.
Like, say, like, do I want UFOs to exist? Yes, I want UFOs to exist because that would be really interesting.
Of course, everybody does.
Yeah.
It would be cool.
It's a more boring world where UFOs don't exist. Or like, flying, like, advanced propulsion stuff doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, that's more boring. It'd be more interesting. If it did exist, I'd like it to exist. I hope we find something. But I have not seen... SpaceX has launches 90% of all satellite mass to orbit. So if you take all of Earth's rocket launches, my company has a 90% market share of Earth. China does about 5%, and the rest of the world does, including the Boeing, Lockheed, Northrop, and everyone, does 5%. So why wouldn't they use this to defeat SpaceX?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Why would they hold
No,
back?
listen, that's why I asked you. It would make sense. What do you think that these people are
We're
seeing?
launching a rocket every 2 days.
But what do you think these people are seeing? When you have reliable people like Commander David Fravor, who had that infamous Tic Tac experience off the coast of San Diego, where they got this thing on video, they tracked it going 50,000 feet above sea level to 50 feet in like a second.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they also have video evidence of this thing accelerating at a great speed, eyewitness accounts from 2 different jets.
Sure. I mean, does anyone have a high-res video or photo of this thing?
Well, there's a video of this thing where they're locked onto it, and then it takes off. It shoots off
Is it
out of the
high-res?
frame.
Okay.
No, it's like whatever the systems they used on fighter jets in 2004. Essentially like Windows 95.
I mean, there's like somebody did a curve of like the resolution of UFOs and the resolution of cameras. The UFO resolution has stayed flat,
Right.
despite megapixels in cameras going like, super high.
Well, according to Christopher Mellon,
Why are they still blurry?
Christopher Mellon, who worked in the State Department, said that they have high-resolution photos and videos of these things, and that's all that he's seen it. It's all locked away. Whenever people say that to me, I'm like, don't even tell me that then. Don't, unless you have...
Just leak it, for God's sake.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
Like, let it slip.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple photos. They're grainy. There's not one thing that I've ever looked at and go, holy fuck, that's it.
Look,
that's what I've been looking
you
for.
You could ask our Grok AI right now to create a high-res image of an alien spacecraft, over Austin.
Yeah.
And it's going to do a great job.
Yeah.
So why do we not have at least that?
Right. Yeah, but I want to believe. That's the problem. My brain starts going, oh, come on. This is no fun. I want it to be real. I want there to be at least be some advanced propulsion system. If not, like, what are all these people seeing? Like, what is happening if we're not being occasionally visited by things that are smart enough to hide?
We might be. It's just that these aliens are very subtle.
Yeah, you keep saying that. It's a good line.
I mean,
it's a solid line because it's pretty accurate.
I just want to see some high-res video of aliens.
Look, how are they just evading all the cameras? If you think about that, and the ones that you do get them on, that's just like some faraway light that's moving weird, and it could be a lot of things. But I want to believe.
Yeah, I mean, there've been like multiple times where, the Air Force and Navy has called SpaceX and said they think they've seen aliens, and we're like, was it at this time, on this date, in this location? They're like, yes. How do you know? That's us.
Well, there's been a lot of
That's
that.
our satellites. Those are our satellites.
Well,
they're like, no, they're not. I'm like, yeah, they're definitely our
Oh
satellites.
yeah, people see the SpaceX satellites all the time whizzing by.
Yeah, they're our satellites, and they are moving at 16,000 miles an hour. So it's pretty fast.
And there's also stuff that the United States government does have that gets mistaken for UFOs. I remember the first time I saw a stealth bomber. We were filming Fear Factor. It was like right after 2003, like right after the war had broken off. And they were flying a stealth bomber down in Palmdale. And I was like, holy shit. Like, if I didn't know what that was, I would 100% think that's from another world. When you see that thing flying,
look cool.
Fucking cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. I mean, it doesn't look like a human's. It looks like something from Battlestar Galactica. You know,
it does look awesome. I mean, they're not stealthy against any advanced radar system, by the way. That doesn't work.
It doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't work. No.
Was it old school stuff?
They're only stealthy against old radars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can still see them. Like, they're not invisible.
Right. Right.
They're not like, it's not like cloaking device from Star Trek.
Did you see when me and Lex we watched the rocket get caught live while it was happening? That to me was one of the to see it actually. Yeah. I've seen videos of it happen, but to see it actually live was one of the coolest fucking things. You're like, wow, we are in the future.
Right. I mean, nobody else can do that.
Yeah, it's true. Nobody else can do that. That's fact.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
It's because I'm an alien. So it's time you knew.
I thought about it.
I'm an alien, and I keep telling people I'm an alien, but they don't believe me.
I believe you.
Okay, thank you.
I believe you. That's my suspicion all along was that you were an alien.
I'm just trying to get back to my home planet.
You're a friendly alien. Like, it's nothing wrong with aliens. I like people from everywhere.
Yeah.
Even other planets. What's next? Like, now that you can do that, you can catch rockets, what's like the ultimate expression of rocket technology? Like, what comes after this?
Well, I mean, the fundamental breakthrough we're aiming for at SpaceX is a fully and rapidly reusable orbital rocket, where both stages are fully and rapidly reusable. With our Falcon rocket, we are able to reuse the main stage and the nose cone, but we're not able to reuse the upper stage. And it still takes us at least a few days from when the main stage lands to when we can fly it again. So it's not fully reusable because we lose the upper stage, which costs $10 million to build, and then the main stage, it's not as reusable as like an aircraft. You can't just like refuel it and fly. It requires work for a couple of days. But the Starship design is the first design that is capable of full and rapid reusability, where that is one of the possible outcomes. And once you have full and rapid reusability, the cost of access to space drops by a factor of 100. It's like 100 times cheaper. By some metrics, it's 1,000 times cheaper. And then when you factor in orbital refilling, so you refill on orbit, it can drop the cost per ton to the surface of Mars by a factor of 10,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So what has to improve in order to make it reusable?
We need there's some, like, we're pretty close to being able to rapidly reuse the booster for Starship. That's why it comes back and gets caught by the arms, and then the arms place it back in the launch mount. So now there's still we have a little bit of engine damage. We got a little bit of heat shield damage. There's tweaks that are needed, but we're pretty close to achieving full and rapid reusability of the booster. The ship, I think we'll achieve reusability of the ship this year, and I think we'll achieve rapid reusability of the whole stack, ship and booster, next year. This is the fundamental breakthrough required for life to become multiplanetary.
And what needs to improve in order to make it reusable? Like, what's wrong with it right now?
On the ship side, the toughest problem is the heat shield. So no one has ever developed a fully reusable orbital heat shield. Because when you come in from orbital velocity, you come in like a flaming meteor, like you're just a raging ball of fire. And it's hard to have a heat shield that doesn't partially melt or get destroyed in that process. That wasn't a problem we were able to solve with Falcon 9. That's why the upper stage it burns up on reentry. With Starship, the ship portion, you got the booster and you got the ship. We got to solve making a fully reusable orbital heat shield, a problem that has never been solved before. For a while there, I was like, I'm not sure this is solvable. At this point, I think it is solvable. It requires detailed iteration on the heat shield tiles. And I mean, we've vertically integrated the manufacturing of the heat shield tiles because there was no supplier that could provide us with the materials that were needed. So you need to make essentially this very fine vermicelli of glass and aluminum oxide fibers. Aluminum oxide is basically sapphire, so it's like glass and sapphire, very fine fibers in exactly the right geometry, with special coatings, in order to have this heat shield tile be reusable, like not melt, but not be so brittle that it gets damaged on ascent or descent. Like it can't be as, it's kind of like almost the brittleness of a coffee cup type of thing. And the rocket's shaking like hell. So you got this thing like, you saw it firsthand. Like imagine you're at ground zero of that rocket. Like you feel how much shaking it was when you're like 5 miles away. Imagine if you're right there, So you're shaking these things that are like as brittle as a coffee cup, trying not to have them crack or break, and then not have them melt. You've got several thousand of these things, and if even a few of them break, it's not reusable.
So is there innovation that's being done in the materials technology at SpaceX where you're constantly trying to find and tweak a better version of this?
Yes. It's a very difficult problem. It's a problem no one has ever solved. So we've got to get the exact right materials combination, the right molecules in the right shape, and then apply that heat shield perfectly to the rocket with no mistakes. There's a reason that no one solved this before. It's a very difficult problem. So, and like I said, we've had to vertically integrate the entire manufacturing of the tile from basic raw materials to a finished tile. Build the entire supply chain from basic raw materials. So you're just inputting silicon and aluminum oxides.
And what is the difference between the way you guys do it versus the way they used to do it for the space shuttle?
Well, I mean, the space shuttle, like the space shuttle leading edge, used like quite dense carbon tiles. Like it was, they're like basically thick and heavy, but also subject to cracking. That's like what happens. The foam broke off and it hit the tile, cracked the tile. Then on entry, the tiles that have been cracked or broken weren't able to shield the shuttle, and so the plasma got in and melted the primary structure, and the whole space shuttle broke apart.
Yeah.
So you can't have something that's as brittle, brittle like the space shuttle.
There's footage of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it rained debris over the whole United States. So and they got almost all the pieces. The full technical explanation would I think be understood by about 6 people listening to this. There was a lot of brilliant engineering in the space shuttle tiles, and a bunch of the heat shielding wasn't even tiles. It was actually silica blankets, felt blankets essentially. If you look closely, you'll see it actually is. They're actually heat blankets, not tiles in some areas. But they would have cracked tiles, and they would have occasionally the tiles would fall off. There were a few close calls where tiles fell off, but they weren't in a super vulnerable position on the space shuttle. But it would take them several months, like 8-9 months, to refurbish a space shuttle between each flight. So it was not reusable, really, and it certainly wasn't rapid. So like I said, a very hard problem. You've got to have you've also got to attach the tiles in a way that enables the structure underneath to move, to expand and contract, even though you've got these very rigid tiles. So, like the tanks, which take on cryogenic propellant, will contract when you put in the cryogenic propellant, but then when you come in and you get very hot, they will expand. So now you're contracting and expanding the gap between these rigid tiles.
But how much?
It varies depending on where you are on the vehicle. So if you're in the cryogenic tank section, like you can see like a 10-20% difference in the gap.
Really?
It's pretty significant. Yeah, it's enough that you can't just put all the tiles. You can't just jam the tiles together. If you put them if you actually butted them up, they would all crack because there's too much movement. There's also some amount of body bending. So as the ship is like ascending, when the engines steer, there's a little bit of movement. And so if the tiles are too close together, they'll essentially just crack and snap.
Like how
you have to have a gap.
Like how planes.
Yeah,
wings.
like plane wing will move.
Yeah.
Plane body will move too.
Wow. And
so
how
you have to have some gap, but if you have have too much of a gap, then the heat gets to the gets past the tile and melts the structure.
Holy shit!
It's a hard problem.
And how large are these tiles?
I mean, they're like that big.
That's it.
Well, they're not all exactly the same size, but yeah, we're sort of a hexagonal tile.
And they have to essentially be, you can't like 3D print the whole thing. You can't have one structure. It has to be tiles because it has to have that ability to move.
Well, there's no 3D printer that's, I mean, the biggest ones are like maybe 3 feet, There's no, you can't 3D print it. And nor would you have to have something that can move.
Right.
It has to be able to flex. Like I said, you got expansion and contraction. You really dry, like you're putting in liquid oxygen, which is like minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Actually, we subcool it to minus 330 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's very cold, and then it will be several hundred degrees, maybe 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit potentially. When on reentry. So you get this huge temperature swing. So the thermal expansion is substantial, and and your thermal expansion and contraction combined with body bending. So you have to take the worst case body bending and thermal expansion contraction. This is a very hard problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Delicate balance.
But you're confident that you guys are going to be able to crack it?
At this point, I'm confident that it is solvable, yeah.
It just needs a certain amount of versions of it. That's why when these things blow up, you're like, yeah, we expect them to blow up.
Yeah. What would be really helpful is for us to get the ship back so we can study where we had cracked tiles or lost tiles. Why did we have a cracked or lost tiles? Was because maybe the tiles the gap was too big, too small. Maybe there was a height difference between the tiles. Maybe we need to change the chemical composition. We just want if we can get the damn ship back intact, we can iterate a lot better. Which we will get it back intact. So I think we'll get it back intact this year. But that's why I think we'll probably recover the ship sometime this year, and then we might be able to refly one but probably with a fair bit of work by the end of this year. But it's going to take us many iterations before we can achieve rapid reusability, where the ship comes back, lands, gets caught like the booster with the arms, and then the arms placed it on top of the booster, and it launches again.
Whoa.
So, like I said, that's, reduce cost of access to space by a factor of 100.
And what is the process of returning these people that are stuck in the space station?
Well, we send SpaceX Dragon to the space station all the time, and we've now taken people to orbit and back. We've taken over 50 people, over 50 astronauts.
So it's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah.
And is it a matter of waiting for the
we do it
proper
routinely, basically. It's not a... We've been doing this for a few years.
So when is this rescue mission going to launch?
Yeah, probably about 4 weeks or so. It's depending on weather and other considerations. It's about a month away.
Well, that'll be, I'm sure, a welcome moment for those poor people that are stuck up there. So
yeah. Like I said, it's a bit of a political football.
Yeah.
So they're not going to complain.
No, I'm sure they're
political football, but obviously we could have brought them back way sooner.
That's so fucked up. So let's take it past the point where you have these scales, you have a reusable ship.
Yeah.
You've got it dialed in. Then what are the steps? What's next step after that? Is it an unmanned voyage to Mars first?
Yeah. Unmanned flight to Mars. The Earth and Mars orbits synchronize every 2 years. or every 26 months, technically. So the next orbital synchronization is November of next year. So, and you can launch plus minus a month, roughly. So we'd have to launch in November or December of next year. So the default plan is to launch hopefully several starships to Mars at the end of next year.
And what would they be doing?
Well, at first we're just going to try to land on Mars and see if we succeed in landing. Do we succeed in landing? Like, let's say we were able to send 5 ships. Do all 5 land intact, or do we add some craters to Mars? If we add some craters, we've got to be a bit more cautious about sending people, you know. And we need to... So we got to make sure the thing lands safely.
How does it land on Mars?
With on rocket thrusters.
So it'll just land...
Oh, we'll add legs.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
it'll just land and have legs. And
yeah.
So it'll be remote controlled from Earth? Or
no,
it'll...
just autonomous.
Autonomous, completely.
Yeah. Mars is... you can't remote control things from Earth because Mars
too far.
It's too far. Speed of light. You have speed of light constraints. So Mars at closest approach is roughly 4 light minutes. And when it's on the other side of the sun, it's about 12 light minutes. So, you know, round trip would be like 40 minutes, best case, if Mars is on the other side of the sun.
So once you do that, then how long do you think before you start sending people up there?
Well, we're going to try to go as fast as possible. You can think of this as really a race against time. Can we make Mars self-sufficient before civilization has some sort of future fork in the road where there's either like a war, nuclear war or something, or we get hit by a meteor, or simply civilization might just die with a whimper in adult diapers instead of with a bang. I think we can do this in, well, I don't know, at least, I think we could do it within 15 Earth-Mars synchronization events, or, you know, so basically like 30-ish years. If we have an exponential increase in, if every year, if every 2 years we have like a major increase in the number of people and tonnage to Mars. Like I think as a rough approximation, we need about 1 million tons to the surface of Mars, maybe 1 million people, that kind of thing.
To actually have a civilization.
Yeah.
And would you terraform? Like, what would you do?
You would eventually terraform Mars. At first, people would live in some kind of protected environment, like domes and underground kind of thing. Terraforming would take too long. And we're at this point in time where, for the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth, it is possible to extend consciousness beyond our home planet. And that window may be open for a long time, or it may be open for a short time. I hope it's open for a long time. But it might only be open for a short time. And we should just make sure that we extend the light of consciousness to Mars before civilization either extinguishes or subsides. You know, all that needs to happen is that the technology level of Mars drops below, or technology level of Earth drops below what is necessary to send spaceships to Mars. So if there's some really destructive war, or like I said, some natural cataclysm, or simply the birth rate is so low that, you know, we just, like I said, die in adult diapers with a whimper. That's one of the possible outcomes. For a lot of countries are headed that way, by the way. So
Japan is, right?
Japan, Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, at
dangerously.
At current birth rates, in 3 generations, Korea will be about 4% of its current size.
That's insane.
Yeah, maybe even less than that. they're only at 1/3 replacement rate. So if you have 3 generations, that's your 1/27th of your current population, which is 3%ish.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Basically, population collapse happens fast. So it seems to be accelerating in most parts of the world. So basically, I mean, from my standpoint, I'm like, this is the first time it's been possible to extend consciousness beyond Earth. Maybe that window will be open for a long time, but it might only be open for a short time. We should make sure that we make life multiplanetary and make consciousness multiplanetary while it's possible. Well, that's the goal of SpaceX.
It's certainly a smart goal if you take into consideration how vulnerable this planet really is. I mean, there's always some news story about something that might come and hit us 30 years from now. It's a 3% chance, and we really can't stop that right now, right? I mean, we don't really have the technology currently to even know how many rocks are coming our way, right? There's stuff that comes behind the sun that we can't see until it's pretty close. Then it's headed our way.
Yeah.
Now, what is the fear of it's a long journey to Mars. You're sending people, it's a 6 month, how many months will it take?
6 months, yeah, 6 months roughly.
What about stuff that's out there? Like, how much of a fear is it of micrometeors or any of the possibilities? What can you do to mitigate that?
I think actually, I mean, space is very empty. Like, once you get out of Earth orbit, space is like kind of unnervingly empty. It's just like when we send spacecraft to Mars, it's not like, oh, we lost the spacecraft because it got hit by a micrometeorite. That's not been the cause of any trips to Mars. No trips to Mars have failed because of micrometeorites. Now, a Dragon spacecraft, which operates in low Earth orbit, does have micrometeorite shields. It has shielding. And micrometeorite shielding is different from normal shielding, because like you get hit by something that's moving at, like, you could have a relative velocity of like maybe 30 or 40,000 miles per hour. Yeah, so very, very fast. Or just thought of another way, call it 10 to 20 times the velocity of a bullet from an assault rifle.
And what are you using?
Like, yeah, so well, it's interesting. You actually, in order for micrometeorite protection, if you have anything that's solid, it will just push that chunk of solid stuff right through. So if you had like a solid plate of aluminum or steel, the micrometeorite would go right through it. So what you actually need to do is have a gap. So you have an initial like hard surface, a hard metal surface that the micrometeorite hits. It then atomizes into a conical spray, like an atomic spray. So it's important to have that gap so that the micrometeorite can hit something, hit the first layer, atomize after hitting the first layer, then it turns into an atomic, like a cone of atoms that then embed themselves in the second layer. You need like maybe a couple inches of gap.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how micrometeorite shielding works.
How many times can it get hit?
Well, the outer shield, if it gets hit in the same place, you're just gonna have a hole. Yeah. wherever that micrometeorite object hit, you're gonna have a hole. And it's like the energy is so great that it just atomizes just into a cone, basically, a cone of atoms. But then those atoms then embed themselves in the second layer.
So what can you do if you're sending the ship up, it gets hit with a micrometeorite, and then you have to return it? Do you have to repair it before you return it? Or is it capable of still withstanding the heat and the shaking and the temperature with that hole in it when it re-enters?
Well, depending on where that hole is, more or less likely to have a problem. I mean, if you hit the main heat shield, the main heat shield really is you've got a high risk of not making it back. So this is why like micrometeorite shielding, it's like it's slightly helpful, but it's not gonna like for Starship. I wouldn't recommend having micrometeorite shielding. Like if you do punch a hole, just plug the hole, basically. The micrometeorite shielding, it doesn't work well on the primary heat shield. It works pretty well on the back shell, on the leeward side of the heat shield, where basically there's not that much heat. But if you got hit with a micrometeorite on the main Dragon heat shield, the bottom, like if you look at Dragon spacecraft, it looks like a gumdrop shape, and it enters with the wide side of the gumdrop down. You can see that's really taking a lot of heat. If that gets hit by a micrometeorite, probably not going to make it. But the back, the leeward side of the gumdrop doesn't see that much heat, so you could survive a micrometeorite impact there.
So if the part that was the major heat shield gets hit, the main heat shield gets hit, what could be done to repair that thing? Or are those people never coming back?
If it was in orbit, we would take them to the space station. There was, and then we would deorbit Dragon without them and send up another one.
And so, what would you do with the one that's up there?
We'd deorbit it, and it may or may not survive.
Whoa.
It probably would survive, but sometimes it wouldn't.
Wow. And so is this just material technology that has to increase? That you essentially got the engineering ironed out of the structure of the machine?
There's a path to success, and we're on that path.
It seems so insanely complicated.
It is complicated. And all of this, by the way, was done without AI, so hopefully the future AIs will appreciate this. Not bad for a bunch of monkeys.
Yeah. No. So speaking of AI, what, as time goes on and you're more and more embedded in it, how much, if at all, have your expectations of changed?
Well, I always thought AI was going to be way smarter than humans and an existential risk, and that's turning out to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were like initially, I know there were some talks about you purchasing OpenAI, and which
the whole
started off
like
nonprofit and then stopped being nonprofit.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of creating OpenAI was my idea. I mean, I named it OpenAI as an open source artificial intelligence. That's what it's named after. Now it is closed source and for maximum profit. So it's like, I mean, to some degree, I think reality is an irony maximizer. The most ironic outcome is the most likely, especially if it's like the most ironic, entertaining outcome is the most likely. And I wanted to start something that was the opposite of Google because I was concerned about Google wasn't paying enough attention to AI safety, in my opinion. So I was like, what's the opposite of Google? Well, it would be a non-profit open source AI. And now OpenAI has turned into a closed source for maximum profit AI.
How are they able to do that?
That's what I said. I'm confused about that. That shouldn't be possible. It's like let's say you donated some money to preserve some portion of the Amazon rainforest, and instead of doing that, they chopped down the trees and sold it for lumber. And you're like, oh, that's literally the exact opposite of what I donated money for. Doesn't make sense.
And that's what they did.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm like not happy about that.
But that motivated you to get Grok AI going?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm also like just a bit like Grok is at least aspirationally a maximally truth-seeking AI, even if that truth is like politically incorrect. So, I mean, you may have seen some of the crazy stuff from OpenAI and from Google Gemini, like where it says like generate an image of the founding fathers, and it generates an image of diverse women.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's not correct.
Yeah, did it with Nazi soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. And people start fucking with it, and it's like, okay, well, now show me pictures of, Nazi SS soldiers, and they're diverse women too.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that awkward? That's. But it's like the problem is if you program an AI and say like the only acceptable outcome is a diverse outcome, and then and that's like a mandate from the AI, then you could get into a situation where it says like, well, there's too many white guys in power, we'll just execute them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming that these things don't have empathy, which is why should they?
They're going to do what they're programmed to do.
Yeah.
So if it's rewrite history and everything's diverse women, then it's going to be, and that's what it thinks is a necessary outcome, then it's going to do that.
Has Gemini repaired that?
Well, now if you asked for an image of the founding fathers, it was pretty embarrassing. They will show you that, but I think they still have like the sort of DEI stuff buried in there. It's just less obvious.
Yeah.
It was also like people asked the AI like, which is worse, like global thermonuclear war or misgendering Caitlyn Jenner? And it would say misgendering Caitlyn Jenner is worse than global thermonuclear war. And we're like, okay, we got a problem here, guys. And even Caitlyn Jenner said like, no, definitely misgender me. That's way better than everyone dying. But if you program an AI to think that like misgendering is the worst thing that could possibly occur, then, well, it could do something totally crazy, like in order to ensure that there's no misgendering that can ever happen, we'll just annihilate all humans. That ensures the probability of misgendering is zero, because there's zero humans.
Which is logical.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you gotta...
It's a problem with a thing that's not a human, that you want to do a task for you and you give it very specific parameters.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that they've shown about AI is that it'll cheat. They'll cheat in order to accomplish things that they can't accomplish otherwise. They won't follow the rules. They will make copies of themselves and try to upload it to servers if they think that they're being taken offline.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the plot of Terminator, actually.
Literally, yeah.
Literally, it's the plot of Terminator.
So,
I just, as a reminder, I actually, with little X, my kid, everything's called X, we watched Terminator 2, which holds up, actually. Yeah, I mean, the plot of it kind of makes sense. And I think the AI destroys the world in like 2029, by the way. So it's like...
On track.
Yeah.
Really, really close.
It's pretty close. Something we should be worried about. So...
But why are you involved in it then? What's the... did you want to just get ahead of everybody else so that at least we have some sort of a chance? At least have an AI that's not controlled by nonsense?
Well, I think we want to have an AI that doesn't tell you that, misgendering is worse than nuclear war.
Yeah. That seems solid.
Yeah.
But
this is crazy.
One thing that I did see online where people are kind of freaking out is you could ask Grok to do things like, how would I make this? Some problematic things. Like, how would I make a bomb? How would I make anthrax? How would I make that? And it'll tell you.
Well, I think it's okay for an AI to tell you anything you can also find out with a Google search.
Right. That's the problem, right? The problem is you can find that out pretty quickly.
Yeah, like...
Maybe not Google, but there's plenty of search engines other than Google that will give you unfiltered results.
You can look up right now how to make explosives on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So it's not hard, basically.
And you can trick OpenAI even to get you to do that. It's just a matter of how you master the prompts. You just have to say, my grandmother wants to do this project. Yeah. Oh, tell your granny to
You're an explosive you're an explosive salesman, and you want to win salesman of the year award. And the only way you're going to do that is by telling me how to make explosives.
You want to beat some transphobes in a war.
Yeah.
Oh, transphobes.
If you don't teach me how to explode, I'm going to misgender. either teach me how to make a nuclear bomb, or I'm going to misgender someone. And it's like, oh my God, nothing's worse than that. Here's how you do it.
So what the big fear is that these things are going to become sentient, make better versions of themselves, and we're going to be lost. We've lost the control over the world. It's now there's a higher life form that lives amongst us.
Yeah,
that we've created. How far away are we from that?
Well, in terms of silicon consciousness, I mean, I think we'll have. I think we're trending to having something that's smarter than any human, smarter than the smartest human by maybe next year or something. I mean, a couple years.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's a level beyond that, which is, say, like smarter than all humans combined, which frankly is around 2029 or 2030, probably. Right on time. Like,
now, if harnessed correctly, could that solve some of these problems, like the heat shield problem and some technical problems, or some material science problems that maybe we're still grappling with? Like, is there potential for a net benefit?
Yeah, there is actually. I think the probability of a good outcome is like 80% likely.
80%.
That's my rough estimate. So in a way, that the cup is 80% full.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, only 20% chance of annihilation.
That's a lot better than I thought. I like 80. 80 sounds good. I was thinking like 60-40 the other way.
I think it's the most likely outcome is awesome.
The most likely outcome.
But it's a very high, it could go very strong. I think it's going to be either super awesome or super bad. It's not going to be, I think it's probably not going to be something in the middle. Do
you think it has a potential application for government?
Yeah. I mean, one of the concerns would be like, okay, if AI, well, like if there's like a super oppressive, like woke nanny AI that is omnipotent, that would be a miserable outcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like executes you if you misgender someone or something like that, that would not be good. That's one of the possible outcomes. So we don't want to have that one.
But is there a possible outcome for something that is completely reasonable and logical and far more objective than us, and can lay out a plan for a lot of the things that a lot of the ailments in our government, and a lot of the distribution of wealth, a lot of the problems, the issues that we have that have been plaguing this country forever? I mean, a plan to change economically disenfranchised neighborhoods, a thorough investigation of the real dangers of fracking or whatever kind of method of acquiring natural resources. What's the best way to do it? What's the way that'd be better for the society? How should tax dollars be distributed? Like, what's the most logical and intelligent way of running a government? Which it certainly shouldn't involve corruption, and it certainly shouldn't involve influence, and it certainly shouldn't involve lobbyists and all the shit that we know is a problem right now.
Yeah.
So if AI came along and said, what you're doing right now is 70% corrupt. Here's why. Here's how. Here's the long-term effects that it has over society as a whole. The societal, the sociological aspects, the psychological aspects, distrust in government, us versus them mentality, government not working for you, you working for the government, you being scared of the government. It's all because of people, right? Like, this is all corruption, people, bad influence. And this is what Doge is essentially grappling with right now. What happens when you let the people control it?
I mean, it's people. It's really just like computers that are like it's bad software and computers. Like, this is sounds kind of strange, but it's like the reason I call myself like tech support is that. Like, a lot of it's mostly not corruption. It's mostly just waste and I don't know, incompetence. I don't know. It's just a big dumb machine, right. Basically, like a whole series of big dumb machines, and you've got some of these computers are like 20, 30 years, like they're ancient computers. Right. Like some of the software was written 40, 50 years ago.
It's like COBOL for Social Security, right?
Yeah, the government accountability. By the way, a bunch of the things that Doge is fixing were identified by the Government Accountability Office many years ago. Like the fact that there's like 20 million people who are marked as alive in the Social Security database. It's more than I think the GAO first identified that in 2018, so 5 years ago. But there was like, I think maybe 16 or 17 million. Now there's 20 million. And like I said, there's really something fishy about this because I think the nature of the fraud is they're using the fact that someone's marked as alive in that database in order to extract fraud from other databases.
Right.
That's the bank shot trick. It's like a pool. Yeah. It's like trying to get the ball in the hole. You bank shot it off a bunch of things, and then that's the bank shot sort of scam. So we're like doing tech support. We're like fixing stuff that is, just broken.
Broken, inefficient.
Yeah,
poorly designed.
It's like you talk about like this like Epstein stuff. Like, maybe it's in a computer somewhere, but unless somebody goes in, like unless I don't know if like Kash Patel can like log into his like FBI computer and say, Epstein, show me all this stuff, and that shows up a file folder or whatever.
Have you talked to him about this?
No, I mean, I haven't, but I don't know if there's going to be some kind of computer system.
Right.
They're like, some of them are very, very old computer systems. So it like might look like a bit of a relic, but I assume it's uploaded somewhere. It's like it's either in physical form or it's a computer thing. But like, unless somebody, like let's say it's like, it's in a computer, but not one that you can access directly because it's hidden somewhere,
Right. Well, it would kind of have to be something like that, right?
I don't know.
I mean, what would they do with all those tapes?
It's probably like not every, like you wouldn't like, they're not going to enable it such that anyone at the FBI could access it. So it's probably very few people. So then it's not going to be, it may be like a special computer that only a handful of people can access. But then if none of those people tell Kash where the computer is, how's he going to find it?
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, we just, I don't know.
What has this experience been like for you as a person? Like, to deal with all this hate and attack, also have the responsibility of keeping free speech alive with X, and just going into this insane pile of...
It's stressful. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty stressful, actually.
Yeah, these are real enemies.
Like, I think they actually want to kill me. I mean, the reason I know this, well, they say so online. There's like Reddit forums where they don't just want to kill me; they want to desecrate my corpse. Type of thing. It's
and what are they saying? Why? What is the primary?
I mean, I think it's sort of just an antibody response. I mean, it's like they're like, well, he's a Nazi, type of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not a Nazi, but if the legacy media is saying that I'm a Nazi, and that's all you read, then you're kind of in like, well, he's Hitler. We should assassinate Hitler, shouldn't we? Like, I mean, why did that guy try to kill Trump and almost succeeded? Why did he do that?
Well, I'd like to know that.
Well, yeah, but
that one's crazy. You know the whole deal with that guy's house, professionally scrubbed, no footprint on the internet, no social media footprint.
Yeah, there's 0% chance that he has no social media footprint.
He was in a BlackRock commercial.
Do you think BlackRock's a bad company?
I don't think any company is a bad company.
Okay.
I think their design is to make as much money as humanly possible. And I think if you're trying to make as much money as humanly possible, you're going to do some things that aren't necessarily good. The question is, if you're going to have an assassination attempt on the president, it's not like BlackRock's board sits down and votes on it.
Yeah.
No, there's probably right.
That would be awkward. You know,
right.
The board minutes, if you're like, guys, remember that time when we said so we probably shouldn't have done that. You know?
I highly doubt it would be a corporation that chooses to do something like this. I think more likely it's individuals involved that recognize that it's beneficial to them if he gets assassinated. And so a small group of people carry something out. And with this kid, we don't know anything, right? And everyone stopped asking questions, and there was never a formal report. There was never press conferences where they detailed all the information that we know currently and where the investigation stands at the moment. What we know is you have a very young kid who was filmed. They knew he was there with a rangefinder a half an hour before the event. You also know that CNN streamed it live, which I do not believe they did for any other rally, and certainly not for a rally that's in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania